Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm James, and you're watching Aquatics. Now, today we're doing a live stream. I apologize about this. We have two little pugs, and um, they are, yeah, they need step stools to get up onto the beds, and it's just insanity. But yeah, so today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about freshwater fish and what freshwater fish are best for your tank. This is something that I get constantly when people come into my store is what fish should I get? What size tank do I need? What do I need for filtration? I mean, these are all common things, but without further ado, we'll start from the beginning. I do apologize for us not having a video last week. We had the store closed for 5 days, and that was because we're building this insanely huge reptile enclosure, and it's monstrous. And if you ever build something, make sure to draw it out. Don't actually don't just build it out of your head, because I swear it gets bigger and bigger and bigger each time you put on a board. You're like, no, well, if I add in shelving over here, or if I do this over here, then um, yeah, it's just draw it out, or have a friend draw it out. But anyway, so jumping into freshwater fish and what are the best fish for you. So first off, you need to figure out how much space you have in your house, what size tank you're looking to get. As you can see, we have different tanks. This one's going to be up um, on a shelf that's going to be over here, but right now we're still reorganizing in here. But we have one of our chameleons up here, one of our girls, her name's Boo. And then we have an enclosure over there for our king snake. We do have a pregnant female downstairs. She's a spotted python. She came into us pregnant, and I was. So if you have any tips on how to deal, so like we've had our vet, Dr. Merkwan, take a look at her. She is pregnant. She's holding 5 eggs. If you have any recommendations on, like, we have a lay bin in there for, I've never bred snakes ever. I've bred chameleons. I've never bred snakes. So I don't even know. Like, I know she needs a lay bin, but past that, like, I know you got to mark the eggs when they come out, and I know you got to get, if you have a recommendation for a good incubator or something like that, make sure to drop it in the comments over here, or down below. Make sure to do that for me. That way I know I'm getting the right incubator. We got about 2 weeks before she actually drops the eggs. But who knows, she may drop them sooner. Yeah, joys of them going, oh, surprise, she's pregnant. And I'm like, great, just what I wanted to deal with. But anyway, so as you can see, up here, we wouldn't have room for an aquarium. I mean, you could do a bookshelf tank. You could do like a nano tank, but biggest thing is anything, and I'd say anything past a 75 gallon, you do not want on a second floor or higher. You want so let's say you want to do 100 or 125 or 220 or 300 or 500. Those are tanks that need to be on the main floor of your house, because that is so much weight. I mean, think about this alone. I mean, a 220 gallon aquarium weighs on average about 400 pounds empty. That's just the tank. That is not counting the stand. That's not counting anytime you deal in tanks that size. You're either running multiple canister filters or you have a sump. So that's, if you run a sump, then that's additional weight. And there's just so much. And then what is it? Water weight. You have, I think it's 8 pounds a gallon. So 8 times 200 gallons. I mean, that's 16,000 pounds of water weight on. So I tell people, anytime you're getting into bigger enclosure, or not bigger enclosures, bigger tanks, and you want them on something that's not a concrete floor. And even concrete floors, you know, when you get up into those 500 gallon, 1,000 gallons, typically what they do is they'll rip out the floor, and then they will reinforce it with actual footers just for the uh, because otherwise over time you'll actually see these little spider cracks that'll start working their way out over it. So number one is placement of where do you want that tank to go? What size do you want that tank to go? Next is number three is it's the hard one for people, and it's that tank needs time to cycle. Obviously, the bigger the tank, the longer it's going to take it for it to cycle. And what I mean by cycling is your tank, when you add in fresh water, so you have new gravel, new tank, new decorations, that tank has no bioload. And it needs a healthy, sustainable bioload in order for the fish to thrive naturally like they would out in the wild. So when your tank first starts up, people immediately want to put fish right here, day one. You cannot do that. You will kill your fish, because as your nitrates and nitrites, your pH, I mean, all your levels, your ammonia, everything is going to spike. The second you put something in there, it's going to spike. And even if you don't put anything in there, it's still going to spike because it's part of the cycling process. It's going to, I tell people it's like a roller coaster. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. And it's going to do this depending on the type of fish you want. Really, it should depend on how long that tank should cycle. If you have like more hardy fish, like your goldfish or your koi or your guppies or even tetras, I tell people on average about 3 to 4 weeks. And I still would recommend you checking your parameters before you even put any fish in there. And on that note, before you put fish in, make sure to float and drip. And if you don't know what I mean, go check out one of my older videos. I actually kind of need to do an upper one because I can't believe it's already been a year that I've been doing videos. And again, like I said, I apologize that typically I try to put one out every Monday or Tuesday, and it just hasn't happened lately. We've had so much going on, but I'm going to work better because I want to bring knowledge and information to you, because that's what my channel is all about. My channel is about educating to help people grow in this industry so that they can pass it on to future generations. And they, you know, our hobby or our field just keeps growing, whether it's fish, reptiles, I mean, just knowledge and care of these animals. I mean, we got to keep passing that along, and that's how more and more information is being discovered and observed. So, but yeah, so your hardy fish, I would recommend uncycling about 3 to 4 weeks. On your more sensitive fish would be like your freshwater shrimp, or even like rainbow fish, or let's say betas or live plants. I would push that between the um, 6 to 8 weeks, and then get out of here on saltwater, because saltwater is, even for a normal tank, you're looking 2 months minimum. And with saltwater, I mean, we can do a whole video, and we do have some surprises coming soon here, one of the next couple of videos. But saltwater is one of those that it costs a lot of money to get going. It costs a lot of money for the livestock. So is it really something that you want to push and just drop something in because you don't have the patience to wait the 2 months? And that's the biggest thing, is like, think about this before you even get a tank. Get a tank. Yes, the excitement of decorating the tank, the excitement of putting new fish in, the excitement of them moving around. For me, it's very watching the fish move around, seeing all the different colors or seeing all the shrimp move around. But do you have the patience to wait while that tank gets to where it needs to go. Think about that, because that is a key factor of why tanks will crash, why they'll burn out. And then maintenance is a huge thing. You're like, oh, well, if I just set it up, then I don't need anything else. No, you still have to do your water changes. You still have to clean your filters. You still have to dose, or if your fish gets sick, you have to do treatments. I mean, there's a lot that goes into owning a fish tank. It doesn't matter if it's freshwater or saltwater, or if it's a pond. There's so much that goes into it. So make sure to think about that before you go out and decide to get a fish tank. But all right, so we've covered where to put it in the house. We've covered what size. We've covered how long you should let it cycle. Now I'll jump into a little bit of filtration. Filtration is going to come down to whether or not you have a sump, and what size the tank is. Obviously, smaller tanks. Apologize. Wow. My body is just still always catching up. This last week was brutal on me. Yeah, and it's not even done. But yeah, but filtration, obviously anything, I would recommend anything like a 125 or bigger, have a sump. It's going to be the easier one. But if you have something smaller than a 125, I mean, you could do canisters, you could do hang-ons. I would say and some people like us at the store, we have sponge filters in all of our aquariums. The only one, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, we do have 2 tanks at the store that have sumps. But there's a reason that they have sumps. But like I said, I mean, we have sponge filters in our 40s, in our 20s, in our 10s. You can do sponge filters. There is nothing wrong with that. However, the bigger the tank, the more sponge filters you'll need. If you've been in our store, so like in our 10 gallons, we have 1 sponge filter. In our 20s, we have, and it's on the 10s, they're on the end. On the 20s, they're right in the middle. And then on our 40s, we actually have 2. We have 1 on each side. That way it pushes the current and it filters and gets that water movement. So depending on tank, depending on filtration, now let's get into what type of fish we want to get. Well, I mean, you have predator tanks, and you have community tanks, and you have all this variety of tanks and colorful. I mean, do you want it to be active? Typically, you have, I say when you do a community tank, you want bottom dwellers, middle dwellers, and top dwellers. And what I mean by that is you could do like corridoras or pygmy fish, or be careful with pygmy fish on larger tanks, because A, you'll lose them. B, they'll get sucked in the filtration. But you could do like stir-fry cories or catfish, or something that hangs out on the bottom, your plecos. And we could do a whole video on plecos. I mean, there's so much to learn on those. Now, what I mean by middle dwellers is a fish that's going to hang out roughly in the middle. It's going to hang out at current, which is going to be your mollies. It's going to be your rainbow fish, your grommies. They're always going to hang out in that middle. I mean, obviously they're going to come up, they're going to go down, they're going to do their thing, but their predominant area is going to be in the middle. Now, what I mean by top dweller is, if you guys have any comments or anything like that, or you want to jump in, make sure to come over and say hello in the group chats. I love interacting with my subscribers and seeing what you guys all have to think on this. I'm hoping, I always want to see my channel grow. So if you're watching this and you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, Or if you have any suggestions on things to do differently or different videos you want to see, make sure to drop a comment down below. Please, if you're inclined, hit that subscribe button. And so far, we have 2 thumbs up, so people are hitting that like button, which makes me feel better because these are. That's one of the big things with YouTube videos is they do take up a lot of time, between editing and we're live streaming this one this week because the big build that I'm working on right now is not done yet. That video was actually supposed to be put out today, and since it wasn't done, I had to extend it another week. And I'm like, I don't want to go another week without giving you guys a video of some kind of content. So that's why I decided to go with the what fish is best for you. So now, where were we? We were on the top dwellers. So the top dwellers are going to be your mostly your guppies, your endlers. Man, I love seeing a tank of guppies. They're little spazzes. I mean, they're absolutely stunning, and it just blows my mind on the color variations of these different guppies. Now, one guppy I did see, and we actually got in the store recently, was a blood, what was it, a blood pigeon guppy or something like that. I was like, who named this? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's an absolutely stunning guppy, but I'm like, who named that? Like, it just sounds like some kind of horror film, which I mean, I'd be down for, so that's probably why I ordered them, because I didn't even look them up. I was like, okay, guppy, new coloration, all right, let's do it. But yeah, so that's the stages of if you want to do a community. Also, the biggest things with um, fish is, do you want a fast moving tank? Do you want a slow moving tank? That is going to determine a lot of what type of fish you get. If you want a slow, steady, kind of like surreal, meditating tank, then I would definitely do something like tetras. I mean, have you ever seen those cylinders at like the zoo, and they have this just enormous cylinder, and you're like, oh, you see all the little tetras just moving in a big, huge group, and it's absolutely beautiful. And you're like, oh, that's not many. No, that's probably like 1,000 tetras. Trust me, we were getting ready to start it up, and I mean, I brought in like 150, didn't even touch it. I mean, it looked like this little speck in this big tank, and I was like, holy crap. Like, how many are in there if I have this many in here? And yeah, it's unreal. If you have a fast moving tank, I would definitely recommend something like Danios or Grammys, Rainbow Sharks, Roselines, pretty much any of the sharks. Obviously, be mindful that if you get into sharks that are like the black tips or actual sharks that get actual size, make sure that they're legal where you live. That's been a big thing lately. And B, big sharks like that, when we talk about little rainbow sharks, I mean, they're going to get this big. If you have a 150-gallon tank, it's not going to be a huge deal. And what I'm kind of hinting at here is big sharks like black tips or nurse sharks, they need racetrack tanks. And what I mean by that is it needs to come up and have a gradual curve, just like a big oval. And that way they don't bash their nose or their face into the side of the enclosure or the side of the tank. It's not as big of a deal when they're when you have like the rose lines or the bala sharks, or which, funny thing, bala sharks are actually catfish. Yeah. Oh, I had to explain that all to someone. They're like, but it's a shark, but it's a catfish. Yes, it's both. And it'll eat anything. Honest to God, it will. It'll eat anything. Um, yeah. So yeah, be mindful that if you're going to go into sharks, just make sure you do your research. And that's with any fish that we suggest here on our channel is that any fish you want to put in your tank, make sure that your placement's right, filtration's right, cycling's right, and then obviously the animal itself is right. Now, where do I get these fish? Well, sorry, you can probably hear my dogs in the background. Yeah, it's anyway. Always go to reputable people, people that actually know what they're doing. There are certain box stores that I would recommend staying away from. I'm not going to mention them on here, but you know who you are. And there's reasons for that. It's not that the employees aren't trying, it's that they're not trained, they're not given the research material, they're just kind of thrown into it saying, well, if they die, there's a trash can. Or, I mean, you shouldn't be able to walk. Yes, you'll occasionally have a fish die. Even in my store, you occasionally get one that jumps, or it's crazy. I had one jump the other day, lid and all, it jumped. But you're occasionally going to see one. But a good store, if we have one that dies, we'll remove it before the store even opens. But to have a store and just have dead ones, just, out there across several tanks, not just one tank, it really makes me not want to buy fish from you. Also, anytime you buy fish, you need to ask, are they farm raised? Are they, imported? Always know where your fish are coming from. That way, if they are imported, you're like, okay, if it gets sick, then I can go down this rabbit hole and I know exactly what type of parasites or anything that it might be picking up. If it's farm bred and the breeder. And what I mean by farm bred is it's essentially put out in a stock pond. They do a lot of this with koi. They have different stock ponds. As the koi grow up, they'll move them from stock pond to stock pond to different ones, and then they'll sell them off through there. Well, when you have that many fish, you can have infections, ick. I mean, they're bacterial infections, respiratory infections, fin rot. I mean, the list goes on and on. So just be mindful of where you get your fish from and figure out which one is the best for you. Lastly, we're going to talk about introducing. So I'm going to do a video here probably in a couple of weeks on, we will have another one next week on Monday. So make sure to tune in for that. That'll be a video on the new build. So if you haven't been into our store, and here's the thing, I haven't really posted any pictures of this new build on social media. We have lots of amazing new animals coming in for this build. Trust me. Once I'm done with this, then I got to go to the store to start setting up terrariums and everything. And when in doubt, when it comes to terrariums, go bioactive. It's just better. It's more natural. Yeah. So, yeah, we will have a video, but I'm going to put out a video here in a couple of weeks on a couple of different things. One of them I'm going to do on betas, because I did a video in the beginning. It was just a short video, but I was very wrong as far as setting up and doing the care for a beta. And so stay tuned for that. We're actually going to do just an all-in-depth, because I mean, obviously in a year I've learned so much from people that actually breed betas and work with betas on a daily basis, and just our interactions overall with betas. So stay tuned for that. Also, like I said, if you haven't already, make sure to check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd like to get up in that 5,000 subscribers mark, so make sure to tell your friends, family, loved ones, and all that. I will get better at doing videos. I think what we're going to start doing is we'll do an actual video on Mondays, and then I'll probably do a live stream on Fridays. So, but I got to work out some details with that. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, so lastly, introducing your fish. Just be mindful that if you have a sweet, kind fish, it needs to go with sweet, kind fish. You cannot put a sweet, kind fish in with a predator tank. And by predator tank is anything that's going to actively try to eat your fish. This could be catfish, this could be gar, this could be sharks, this could be just a bigger fish. I mean, cichlids. I mean, cichlids will do it in a heartbeat. Angels. I mean, they'll pick them to death. They'll shred their fins. So, yeah, just be mindful. If you have questions, make sure to drop us a comment down below. Tell us how we did today. If you enjoyed this, just let us know. Keeps us going. And yeah, I think we covered it all. So I hope you guys had a safe holiday. I did not. I shot myself with a nail gun. More on that next week because I'll actually have that included from the day it actually happened. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I will say on that one, viewer discretion is advised because I will show you the actual footage and the x-ray and all that. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, we enjoy having you here. We enjoy seeing you every Monday. And the big question, guys, your tank or mine? And if you have any questions, feel free to us, guys, on any of our platforms. We're always happy to help.